Hello, welcome. Yes, I'm Dave Petso sitting in for Kevin Miller if you're just tuning in. So far today, I think we've talked about masculinity, how upside down the world is, how crazy the markets are, and answered a couple questions. But I want to know what's on your mind. Do give us a call. Hank, hang on for 1 second. Had a couple things I wanted to get through first. But we've got 3 lines available at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Or, if you prefer, it's Dave at PetsoFinancial.net. You know, as we were discussing, because I think it all feeds together, okay? I don't understand why the world's upside down. I don't understand how there's so much anxiety in a world of such abundance. I don't understand that at all. And I'm sure it's social media. I'm sure it's blah, blah, blah. But even people that don't dial into everything, don't walk around with their faces in their phones all the time, there's more tension, more anxiety, more depression than ever. And if it's not an easy question, of course, because it's one of those things where you really have to say, why in a very, very, very big way is this going on? It can't be answered as easy as we want to. And human nature is give me an easy answer. Politicians try to give you an easy answer, even if they make it up and it isn't a real answer. Or it doesn't matter, give you an answer even if it's a totally wrong answer. We accept it because we want answers. And life doesn't always do that. It doesn't do that at all. And I say, well, what am I driving at? What am I driving at is simple. This is what we expect with the constant noise of the financial markets. What do you think the market's going to do this year? I don't know. How in the heck are you supposed to know what the future is? People don't. And they're wrong all the time, and we just can't accept it. We can't. Or there wouldn't be constant ads running on side of every single article you pull up in a Yahoo Finance or a Market Watch or this or that. That's constant. This guy nailed the '08 crisis. This guy nailed the bull market. See what he says next. Click on there and you're gone. Yeah, just unbelievable the drivel that comes out every single day. And people who aren't even that bad, like Jim Cramer, is horrible. Because one day he's like, bearish, it's never going to get better. It's never. I've seen him with his head on the ground. Oh, my gosh, on the desk, excuse me. Nothing good can happen. And almost every time when he says that, that exactly marks the bottom. And, of course, the next day he's chipper and happy. Yeah, it looks like we've resolved most of the problems. It's like a guy who used to be on, I can't think of his name right now, but he was just great. He used to be like he was the one that basically started CNBC, right? He used to call him the king of what's happening now. Jim Bob Cramer, Reverend of the Church of What's Happening Now. And that's exactly right. So what good does it do to have people hyperventilating about what is just happening right now? It doesn't. It upsets us. It makes us think we should be doing things, reacting to things, instead of trying to get a handle on stuff and just chilling out and relaxing and going and seeing our grandkids. Why do we do this to ourselves? Why push the button every day? Why get the news every day? It isn't. Why be a news junkie when it's false news? What are you saying? You really like... You want to think about it a different way? How about this? Did your mother tell you it's a good idea to gossip and read about other people? No, she didn't, because it's not nice to do. So stop it. It'll actually give you more clarity in life. Not to be so involved in day-to-day noise. It's just noise. But when we try to clear this away, you think about this, and this market's down, it's been really volatile, and it's really been really bad. Okay, so a couple things as we head into December, right? One, you always get a whole lot of people that are off on the beach or wherever, ski resorts, where they're gone. So trading is minimal. Two, you've got 85% of trading is done by high-frequency boxes, just computers. So it can move things massively in either direction. Not on fundamentals. Just move them. 3, hedge funds have had really bad years, year after year after year after year, and about 150 of them just shut their doors, meaning they had to sell out by the 26th or so of December. That's a whole lot of selling because it's not being reinvested when you shut the doors. It's shut the doors, mail the checks out. You got that on top of it. That's all noise. That has nothing to do with the fundamentals, because here's the fundamentals. Like the greatest job market in all of history. I am not kidding. This tax cut thing isn't going to work. It worked, period. The Federal Reserve and QE, as soon as they stop, everything's going to go, interest rates are going to spike, it's going to be horrible. Wrong again, doomsdayers. Well, when they do this, we're going to get hyperinflation. No, we didn't, did we? When Trump takes office, the market's going to tank. Sorry, didn't happen. Well, when the Dems take over Congress, I know, and they were full of predictions of all that's going to happen now. Here's the fundamentals. The job market is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. If you don't have a job, you don't want a job. That's not being insensitive. That's get off your rear. There's jobs everywhere. Perhaps they don't want you to be CEO and pay you $1 million a year, but there are jobs available everywhere. Everywhere. Is the world slowing down? Slowing down, yes. Is it negative? No, it's not. It's not negative at all. Well, what about all of the trade wars? Because that Trump's doing a trade war thing. All right, well, number one, we have a new NAFTA. Europe is on hold, right? Because they're going to work with us towards zero tariffs. The trade war is with China. And it needed to happen, didn't it? On every level. Intellectual property, all those things, right? All of that had to happen. And it is. And they are, Chinese meaning, reducing the tariffs as we speak. Look, the economy is booming. Corporations are booming. We had the greatest, most important fundamental shift in the corporate tax laws in 30 years. I can't prove a negative. I can only tell you that more jobs would have, I don't know how many, can't prove it, but we all know it's true because it's been happening for 30 years, would have gone overseas. Because what we told corporations having the highest tax rate in the world, let me repeat that. This is no small thing. The United States of America had the highest tax rate on corporate profits in the world. Meaning, why in the world would you do business in the United States? You're a moron to do business here. You are. And if you're trying to make money, which is, again, what business is supposed to do, you relocate. That isn't happening anymore. This is ginormous. It's not just a little sugar high like the libs want to say. This is a fundamental shift that will improve economic growth in the United States forever. Forever. Are we going into a recession? I don't know. The jobs report sure didn't look like it. Well, wages aren't growing. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. 5.2% last year, and that does not include bonuses and commissions. And guess how a lot of businesses pay? With bonuses and commissions. 5.2%, and I would argue way more than that. But we don't measure it. But 5.2% is plenty to have a fantastic Christmas. Oh, yeah, we did have that, too. We did have that, too. That's the fundamentals. That's how we stay in spite of everybody screaming and yelling, and it's an awful world. It's just terrible. We got to get out because it's all terrible and mean, and it's upside down, and the good guys are bad guys. And I get that. It's hard. It doesn't make sense. What happened to my country? Why is it that the nuts are running the asylum? I know that's not politically correct. The inmates aren't running the asylum. I probably can't say that either. It doesn't make sense that the American Shrink Association came out with a proclamation that masculinity is bad. Look, I'm a white guy surrounded by nothing but women. 2 girls, 3 granddaughters. So I get it. I'm like the enemy of the planet. I'm not to my kids. But I don't say that as some kind of an angry white guy. I just go, what in the world is wrong with us? Masculinity is bad. And this is what the, quote, the scientific thought is. Really? Written by what nut job, what left-leaning whack is this that says that? That's just absurd. And I'm not a shrink. But this is the stuff that feeds into and makes us feel like the world is falling apart. But it's not. It's not. The media is falling apart, but not the world. The world is real people like you and me. It's women and men. It's people. It's entrepreneurs going out and doing stuff. That just don't, I'm just going to do my thing. Here in the middle of flyover country. Call me a redneck hick, I don't care. But you know what? I love my wife. I love my family. I love my friends, and I'm going to go work hard, and I'm going to play hard, and I'm going to love God. To heck with you and all of your weird-ass stuff. That's the way I feel like most of the country is. But the media and stuff makes it feel like it's all broken and it's upside down, it's all weird, and we shouldn't invest, and we've got to come up with new products, and we've got to be scared to death every time the market has a little hiccup. Nonsense. Nonsense. This is what it does. If we look at fundamentals, that's how you stay in. And you ignore the noise. Just quit looking at it. Quit trying to figure it out. Here's what it's done. It goes up 10%. All of your life. All of your dad's life, your grandparents, your great-grandparents. It's just what it does. It just doesn't do it in a straight line. That's the fundamentals. We'll come back to that more. But right now, I got to take a call. Oh, Hank's hanging on forever here. So, Hank, you're up to bat. Go ahead, buddy.
Okay. Let me speculate it, because I don't know for sure this is true or not. But let's say George Soros, since he's a notorious short seller, he's sort of like the Edward Drew of the 21st century, where, Drew back in the 19th century used to badmouth the Erie Railroad, and then he would turn around and sell short, make a fortune by running the stock down. Soros did the same thing with the Argentine money. Let's say that historically the markets get riled when Democrats are threatening to take over control of Congress, and did, whether it was in periods of time like when they took back the Senate in 1987, they took back both houses in 2007, and also 1987. And we had a short spell of that when they took back the 2 houses of Congress in 1949. And let's say Soros, who maybe studies these sort of things, makes a fortune by having the markets boiled like this, and he sells short, he ends up making millions of dollars in the process. Is there a possibility that this is part of his calculations besides just mere left-wing ideology?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand George Soros, to be frank. It's one of those things, but I don't understand how people can even remotely look at any country in history or any dictatorships in history and think that George Soros has a good idea. I don't understand him. He's made a fortune in a capitalist world and wants to enslave everybody back into some fascist dictatorship or communism, because that's the direction it all is. It always goes that way when we go too far socialist, right? It just does. You take people's freedoms away, eventually we will have somebody, a savior, come along called a dictator, and they take over. And it happens, has always happened all the time in history. So I can't get inside of George Soros's head from why he believes what he does, because it makes no fundamental sense to me. Now, as far as on that, George Soros has made money both on the if you will, on the long side as well as the short side. Okay, so he certainly believes in certain things and does talk down others. He famously made his fortune, his biggest part of his fortune, on betting against the sterling, the British pound, if you will.
He did also against the Argentine money as well.
Well, and there are others that have played that game just as well. And I don't think that I think currencies are very dangerous. They are very levered to play with, and they're beyond my scope. But saying something like the dollar should be strengthening when we're raising interest rates is a pretty straightforward thing. That is typically true. You can have something come out of left field and cause that to not happen, but it's typically going to be true. You have countries that are a basket case like Mexico, and prior to this, Brazil was certainly a basket case. Their currencies are spiraling down. And of course they are, because capital is fleeing their country. And that's what you're really seeing. So saying that George Soros is just talking it down, I don't think that can move markets. He can put together some short-term, enough money to short-term knock things down, but having negative press is just not going to move markets. It just won't do it, because all press is made up and negative now, and everybody knows it. Wall Street just doesn't react to a poll that people don't like Trump that MSNBC puts out. Yeah, okay, but they know it's fake.
Real quick.
Yep.
Are you still of the opinion that the Fed isn't raising interest rates, all that, doing the proper thing? I think they still are raising interest rates a little bit too fast. I know they have to eventually come up to where they were at, but I wonder that there might be ideology involved in this, since a lot of these people are appointments of Obama. The politics enter into the Federal Reserve's decisions.
I don't believe so. I think it's about as clean as it can be. I really do. And to pick certain times when it did or did not, I just don't think that Powell is playing politics here. I think he did say the right thing last week. It did soothe the markets a little bit when he did say we are going to look at data. We're going to slow down and look at data. That's just what the markets needed. They didn't need him to say we're on autopilot, which is what he said the week before, because that simply implies we're not looking and rates are going to go up 3 more times no matter what's going on. And that's in the midst of the turmoil of the market, which also has its own implications. Are we heading into a recession, things like that? Because markets do predict or attempt to predict recessions. The problem with that, and people always quote that, don't markets predict recessions? Yes, and they correctly predict about 1 out of 10 times they correctly get it, right? They're never right. They just keep going down because they're worried about something, and it's down, and is that it? Is that? So 10 times later that it's not been a correct prediction, then we're off. And they're right. So yes, it does predict them, but they're almost always wrong. And that's the problem with the predictive nature of it. But in the midst of that, for Powell to have been insensitive to that, he corrected it. Okay? He made a mistake. I don't think it'll happen again. And I don't think the Fed's raising rates too quickly at all. I do think that they are going to slow down here because we still have no inflation. And I think it's smart to look at the ground conditions instead of saying, this is what I grew up on, this is what I've taught, this is what I've been taught, that we have to raise interest rates when unemployment gets to this level, because otherwise we'll have inflation. We're not getting it, and I think that's technology, but they are at least taking a pause back because interest rates are still very, very low, and obviously the unemployment rate is right at record low levels too. Very unusual.
Okay.
All right.
And I was going to say one more thing. Did you ever read the book by Milton Friedman and Schwartz on the history of the United States money supply from the Greenback era?
I have not. I've heard of that book, and I'm sorry, Hank. Ray's given me the "we got to get out of here" sign. Okay.
Okay.
So call back another time if you will. I'm happy to hear about it. Okay. Hank, thank you. Good questions and comments. Have a good day. And yes, you did hear that. Ray has given me the axe on this. Let's get out of here and get this break out of the way. Our number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO. We'll be right back. Hello, welcome, and thanks for joining us. Yes, Dave Petso sitting in for Kevin Miller. Thank you, Kevin. I hope he's getting some much-needed rest and relaxation. He's a hard-working guy. He really is. He really goes at it a lot. And for everybody, he went out and recorded all of this new instead of just running reruns like everybody else does, right? And other than taking a downturn by throwing me in there for a day, he put together some pretty neat stuff. I enjoyed actually my interview with him. It's already played. But anyway, I enjoyed that. It was just kind of more personal, if you will, it seems to me. All right, our number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Let's go to Patriot Ray. Ray, how are you?
I'm great. How are you, Dave?
I'm awesome.
I look at Chicken Little as alive and well today. And it's Pelosi and Schumer who keep pushing that narrative of fear and everything. Yesterday on another program, I won't mention who it was, but they asked only those who did not want the wall to please call in. And a lot of people called in. They didn't say the only problem they had was the cost of it. But yet I didn't hear anybody talk about the new budget that Schumer and them put through. And it has $12 billion to foreign countries. And we're not willing to put $5 billion into a wall that will protect parts of our border better than they are now. A wall is not the total solution, but it sure does help. And if they believe that walls are nonsense and we don't need them, then they need to take fences and walls away from their properties, and they need to get rid of their security guards and go ahead and see how that works out for them, because people put walls up and fences up to protect the people inside their property. So I look at that and I say, this is insanity when people listen to these talking heads who just a few years ago promoted having a wall themselves. Schumer really pushed one, but it never came out. We have been promised a wall for 30 years. So I don't know. It's kind of insane what we're going through. We could have done it 30 years ago. Yeah, it's going to take some time to build it, but if you don't even build it, you have no protection.
It's true, and I don't even think that people are. It's simply become a political argument. It's not a real argument. So the Democrats think they have something here, and I disagree. I think they're overplaying their hand, because it's the only thing I wish that Trump would have done. He alluded to it last night. Would have been to take 30 seconds and show clips of Hillary Clinton, Obama, Schumer, and others saying that we needed a wall.
Absolutely.
All of this has occurred within the last 5 years. They've all said it multiple times, and now all of a sudden it's not. It's a bad thing. And then make them answer why they changed their mind. I mean, if they have changed their mind for a reason, look, that's part of life, is to be able to say, I was wrong about that issue. But why? I want to know why, not just let him off the hook, because it is political. We know why. It isn't a real reason. It's because they don't like Trump and they're not going to give him anything. But I think this is the first step of trying to get them to start working together with Trump.
Well, they're the only ones that won't work. And to our local legislators who said they want to work with the Republican Party here and want to get along, well, if they promote Schumer and Pelosi and others with their ilk, then they're lying to us, just like we've gotten all the time. And when we had control of the House and the Senate, the Republican side, and they did nothing, they could have had this done too, but they don't have any guts. We have so many up there that just are wishy-washy because they're afraid they're going to lose a vote if they do this way.
Right.
Well, they're losing votes, and they found that out at this last election too. They lost a lot of votes because they didn't follow through. So, hey, stay fired up.
All right.
God bless and have a great day. Thank you.
God bless you, Ray. I appreciate it. You have a great rest of the day now. Thanks for the call.
I will.
Bye now. And our number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO. It's Dave at PetsoFinancial.net if you prefer an email. We got to take a break here for Channel 7 News, and then we will return. So, and we do have a clear board, so if you've been wanting to ring in and state your case about whatever, do so now. We'll be right back. Hello, welcome, and thank you for joining us. And, of course, do join us online. Love to hear from you. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. I think we've kind of spun around the world here a little bit. Everything from how upside down everything is, and it messes with our thinking. And I think it's important to really put it in that context. Maybe you have an idea of why or what and how to deal with it. I only know that I in my life I have to dial things down a little bit, to better understand and try to get a handle, if you will, on things. Sometimes that's taking a walk. Sometimes it's playing golf. Sometimes it's going in a park and hearing little kids laugh and pull you out of the intensity, political intensity that this world is. Because it's upside down. And it is hard. It really is hard. And it's very misleading. And Washington is full of bad people. They are. They're trying to help America. They're just bad people. All they're concerned with is their own power. And frankly, that's not okay. But generally speaking, when we pull back from it, and we really understand what's going on in the world, and we understand what's going on for growth, and why. Yeah, people don't have to like Trump, but the economy is doing better. Maybe you did like Obama, but the economy barely survived the relentless taxes and regulations and Obamacare. And maybe you don't pay anything into for your health care. So therefore you don't care or think that there's anything wrong with Obamacare. But that is frankly being naive and understanding how much the costs have gone up, how much it costs. Just because you're not paying doesn't mean the plan is working. I know as a person that has to write a check that my premiums just go up nonstop and my coverage diminishes. My deductibles just keep going higher. No, I'm not alone. It's not me. It's anybody, everyone that has to buy their own health care. You have people who have money, who are, you want to know how upside down things are? Have money, lots of it, that figure out ways to show little income. Because there's this weirdness to the code that just says, hey, if you make more than, I don't know, like it's about $60,000 a year, then you owe all of it. It's an all or none. You make a little bit less than that, and they pay for your health care. You make over it, and it's like a $15,000 penalty. What the heck is that? Only bureaucrats can be this stupid. It just being in the natural, because that's what happens in government. Government is wasteful. Government doesn't get it. Government has all their stuff paid for. Why would they? But when you're in business and you get those are the problems. So we see all those things, but fundamentally, it's getting better. It's gotten better over the last couple of years. And the market has responded to that. But what I'm trying to say is whether you're on the left, you're on the right. And I know most everybody listening to the program is on the right. I got it. But the reality is, for years, people couldn't stand Obama. I'm with you on that. But they kept them out of the markets. Politics shouldn't. Look at the underlying fundamentals and understand where we're at. And when we don't understand markets for what they are, the greatest mechanism in all of history to build wealth. I've said this a zillion times, and I'm going to say it again, and I want to back into this real quick. Then we're going to take a quick break before we get to Mark. A cup of coffee a day, $5 a day, $150 a month for 40 years is more than $1.2 million in the S&P 500. Not the greatest mutual fund, not Peter Lynch ran the money, not Warren Buffett ran the money, the market. What's the market? It's the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's the WorldComs and Enrons. It's the Googles. Okay? It's all of it. 1.2 million. Now, I need to have some money before things aren't really pretty rough, and I don't know how I'm going to pay my bill. I get all that, okay? Guess what? I started in 1980 in Boise. Yes, we couldn't go and buy a soda, let alone a beer. But you see, we didn't put beer on a credit card that we couldn't do. We didn't go out to a restaurant we couldn't afford to pay cash for. What I'm saying is putting $50 away a month, and then maybe next year you go to $60, and then you go to $75, and so on, till you get to $150, and then you get to $200. That's all. And then you leave it alone, and you get rich. Now, how hard is that? Does this seem like rocket science? Like you really need an economics degree? We really need to track the markets? We really need to get all fussed about stuff? Or do you just have to do something? A little tiny something. And have faith that there is a future. There's going to be a future of lots of noise. Well, I don't know if I should be a... My parents think I ought to be a real estate... My blah, 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 blah. My grandma said it's got to be in the bank. The only way you're going to take $100 a month and turn it into $1 million is in the United States stock market. And it's always happened. Well, what about stop it? It's always happened. I'm not going to sit here and run all the way through all of history and all that stuff because there's no point. You already know it's been way worse in the past. It just hasn't, it had resolution. Now we don't have resolution for whatever, fill in the blank, some nonsensical thing. Well, what about Chuck Schumer? Yeah, that's way worse than like the flippin' Nazis. Come on. We went through all this and we come out. We had Jimmy Carter and Richard Nixon. We had 21% interest rates. But it's really bad right now, and all we got to worry about is how we're going to unwind QE? Stop it. You're making stuff up. Markets correct. They do, and they will continue to do so. All we got to do is stay. You got to start, and you got to finish. That's all. And you get rich. Only in America, man. Only in America. Is it this easy? But when we make it hard, that's our fault. Don't make it hard. Make it easy. Make it easy. Mark, hang on. I got to take a quick break, and you're on the other side. Our number is 580-KIDO. We'll be right back. Hello, welcome. Yes, Dave Petso here. I am in for Kevin Miller today for one more hour and 10 minutes or so, right? Thanks, Kevin. Enjoyed it very much, and I hope he's getting some good rest. The young man deserves it, for sure. For sure. For sure. All right, let's go ahead and go to a very patient caller. Mark, thank you for waiting. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Dave. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing well, thank you.
Good. Hey, I guess what I would say is I'm pretty frustrated. I look at the incompetence of these people in Washington and the amount of time they spend on this issue, for instance, $5 billion. Where were they when Obama put over $100 billion in cash on an airplane and sent it to our enemy, Iran, thinking that they weren't going to enrich uranium? That seemed to just breeze right by. Yet in business, I mean, you have to look at what's important and concentrate on the things that are most important. And then you also have to look at the inefficiencies. Mm-hmm. And you also have to look at the culture. I mean, the culture here, we've got a bunch of whining Democrats that want to spend all this time doing everything they possibly can to just do nothing but disrupt Trump.
Yep.
Yeah, they were for this 2 years ago. $26 billion, I think they were going to put into a border wall. And yet now when it comes down, when Trump wants it and he's asking for much less than that, yeah, we can spend over 20 times that in cash and send it to our enemy.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. And that's why it's so frustrating. Mark, I know our world is upside down, and it is. It just doesn't make sense. The media is in bed with the Democrats, and they don't even, and they just won't go away. It was kind of like, really? They just, this continues to play well to their base, is constant made up stuff and they don't do their job. And if it's a Democrat, we don't want to talk about that. It's okay for them to be making inappropriate sexual advances. It's okay, but not a Republican. And I'm not saying any of that is good. I'm just saying, why isn't there? I'm not even looking for equal justice. Why is it not even close? I don't understand, because your point is really a good one. $100 billion to Iran, and not a liberal will ask that question. But $5 billion is a racist statement.
But nobody's asking that question. I mean, Trump should have brought that up last night. I mean, my thought is, if I ran a business for 35 years, if I had one person that was sitting there trying to disrupt everything, they'd be gone. Because the whole purpose, what we were trying to do, keep our costs low, make a profit, and be successful. Mm-hmm. These people have never run anything like this. They sit around whining about everything. Menendez comes on yesterday trying to go after Trump, yet they were trying to indict him for fraud just a year ago. I don't understand. These types of things make no sense to me.
Yeah, I know. It's like they say that every people gets the government they deserve, because you either stand aside and let it happen, say in Nazi Germany, or you vote for these clowns. And that's exactly what New Jersey did. They said, hey, we know he's a criminal. He's our criminal, though. Let's go ahead and vote him in. And now you're right. He's up there taking shots at Trump. Really? Because there is no shame anymore. There is no shame at all. It's really amazing to me. And I agree with you. It's more of that upside down. It's frustrating. And I think we have to stop and say, you know what? It really is a beautiful world, and most people aren't like this. Most people really aren't. Just because the media is hyped up like this, the media is a bunch of clowns, and the media is just in bed with them, doesn't make it right and doesn't make us different. We are the same. And us in flyover country, running businesses, and getting about our lives and raising our kids in the best manner possible, that's why there still are good kids coming out. That's why kids come out of all of the military and all those things and are going to defend the next generation of idiots. And I get it. I get the frustration. I am too. How does Obama get away with this? How does the press get away with it? It just makes me scream, because it doesn't stop. But you and I have got to look past that when it comes to everything. Starting businesses, having a family. You talk to young people that don't want to have a family because they think that the world is going to end in environmental pollution and nonsensical things like that. You and I think it's going to end because you got a bunch of morons that are power-hungry morons that are running things. I get it. But it's down to us and down to businesses. The people will win out in the long run. I know they will. It always happens that way.
Well, it's national and it's local. We've got a mayor that wants to put bike lanes in the middle of town where people have to commute. I mean, some of the things about that, and then he turns around and tries to take credit for the growth of Boise.
I know.
The whole thing is upside down. I know it's just frustrating, but just want to make that point, Dave. Appreciate it. Appreciate you in there today. Thanks.
Mark, thank you, and I appreciate your question. It was an excellent point. Thank you, sir. And our number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO. John, I'm going to go ahead and go to you. We've only got about a minute, but I'm going to try to take a poke at it and see if we can get her done. Go ahead, please.
Great. Thanks, Dave. Speaking of Trump bashers, I don't know if you caught the Tommy Ahlquist on the show yesterday. I caught enough to throw up in my mouth a little bit. Just a never Trumper who is completely seems so out of touch. Like he arrived to the show in a horse and carriage and a top hat. He was saying Trump's done nothing for minorities and women. And I'm like, well, we have record low unemployment, dude. Wake up. He's Mr. Rising Tide that lifts all ships. And he's given billions to black colleges and just done so much. But I think this guy just gets his talking points from CNN. And I think, he can do himself a favor. Him, Mitt Romney, Jeff Flake, they should all get a room together. Those are the establishment Republicans that drive me insane. That's all I got. Thank you.
All right. John, I missed it. I didn't hear that. That doesn't sound like Tommy to me, but okay. Thank you. I'll have to listen to that. Thanks for your call. I appreciate it, John. And if you have more to add, you feel free to in the third hour when we're coming up to bat. Okay. All right. We're about out of time this hour. I want to, again, thank you all for the phone calls, number one. I'm coming back in the next hour. But number one, I want to make sure I thank all those folks that called in. We're talking about how upside down and weird it is. But at the same time, I don't want that to end on a negative point. The point here is to look past it and look into how great things really are. That's how we stay invested. It's why we grow businesses. It's why this economy is booming. We'll be back after Fox News, top of the hour.